Hello viewers, I'm Bakar Gurti. In this video I'm going to discuss and explain some of the penalties that corporations have to pay for late filing of their T2 corporation tax return. This video is only for educational purposes. However, if you need any specific advice on tax and accounting matter, you can always send us an email at pascal2017@gmail.com, or else you can call us at 289-952-3494. So I divided this presentation into three segments. In the first segment, I am going to discuss late filing of T2 return and its implications. Then we'll look into non-reporting of income and of course the penalties associated with it. And finally, we'll look at waiver of these penalties under the tax law of Canada. Now, what is late filing of T2 return? As we all are aware that every corporation is required to file its T2 return within 6 months of the closure of its fiscal year or accounting year. For example, if you follow the calendar year and you close your books by 31st December each year, then you must file your T2 return within 6 months, that is by 30th June of the next calendar year. However, if you do not do that, then there will be a penalty of 5% of the unpaid tax that is due on the filing deadline. And over and above, you also have to pay 1% of this unpaid tax for each complete month that the return is late. And there is a cap on it up to 12 months only. Let me explain it briefly. For example, if the total tax payable is $100, we assume for simplicity, then 5% of this would come to $5. And we assume that the return was late by 7 months. So it means 1% for each complete month. So 7% additional of this 5%. So we are going to multiply 5 by 7%. So it would be 3.5. So the total penalty that you have to pay in this case would be $8.50. Anyway, I'm going to explain it with reference to a more specific example in the next slide. If you just look at the contents of this slide, we have taken into consideration three different situations. There are three assumed corporations with the name of A, B, and C. And we assume that the unpaid tax for corporation A is 0, means nil. And then for corporation B, the unpaid tax amount is assumed to be $45,000, while for corporation C, this amount is $65,000. And then we look at the number of months the T2 return is late for each corporation. For corporation A, this is 3 months delay. For corporation B, the delay is 7 months. And for corporation C, the delay is assumed to be 13 months. You just look at the asterisk at the top of 13. So this is for highlight purposes that although the delay has occurred for 13 months, but since there's a cap up to 12 months only, so this will be frozen at the level of 12 months. So this corporation is going to pay a penalty only for 12 months, not for 13 months. That I'll just demonstrate in this calculation. So penalty percentage for due unpaid tax is 5%, as we discussed in the previous slide. So the tax calculated would be 0 for corporation A because there was no tax payable. So of course 5% into or multiplied by 0 is 0. But for corporation B, this amount is $2,250. That is 5% multiplied by 45,000. And then for corporation C, this is 3,250. Now there is over and above penalty for the number of months the return was late. So for this, we know that there is additional penalty of 1% for each completed month. So how we are going to calculate it? For corporation A, again, since there is no tax payable, so this would remain 0. But for corporation B, we're going to multiply 2,250 by 1% multiplied by 7, because there are 7 months, 7 completed months during which the return was late. For corporation C, we are going to multiply 1% with the figure of 3,250, but not with 13 months because there is a cap. That is, it is restricted to 12 months maximum. So we're going to multiply it by 12. So we arrive at two figures. For corporation B, this is $157.50, while for corporation C, this is $390. And you look at the bottom line, the total penalty payable by each corporation. For corporation A, this is 0 or nil, but for corporation B, this is $2,407 plus 50 cents, while for corporation C, this is $3,640. So in this simple illustration, I've demonstrated and explained how you are going to calculate penalty for your corporation if you do not meet the provisions of the tax laws in Canada. Now, there could be another situation where a penalty may be imposed by the CRA. For example, demand to file the return under subsection 152. So it means somehow you did not file the return, and then a notice is served upon your corporation that the return was not received, and then you are going to file that return and it was late. So CRA assessed a failure to file penalty for the corporation in any of the 3 previous tax years. So penalty is 10% of the unpaid tax when the return was due. So in this case, instead of 5%, the penalty is 10% because you did not comply and notice was served to compel you to file the T2 return. And over and above this penalty, you also have to pay 2% of this unpaid tax for each complete month that the return is late, and the cap in this case is 20 months. So the important point that you need to keep in mind is that in this particular case, since there is a severe failure on the part of your corporation, so the rate of additional penalty has been raised from 1% to 2%, while the cap of 12 months has been raised from 12 months to 20 months. So it means the financial implication would be more severe if you do not file your T2 return voluntarily and you keep waiting for any notice that may be served by the CRA under section 150 subsection 2 of the Income Tax Act. Okay, now we discussed some of the penalties that may be associated with non-resident corporation. Now, what's a non-resident corporation? Under the tax laws of Canada, non-residency is not specifically explained. In fact, it is all based upon common law and some of the conventions that are followed. But primarily speaking, I mean, the key determinant whether a corporation is considered resident of Canada or non-resident is that from where the control of the corporation is being exercised. So there could be a possibility that a corporation may be incorporated abroad, but its management is operating from Canada. In this case, it will be considered a resident of Canada and vice versa. Now, what those penalties are? For example, a non-resident corporation will be subject to a failure to file penalty equal to the greater of these 2 amounts. What these amounts are? $100 and $25 for each complete day that the return is late, up to a maximum of 100 days. So it means the minimum and maximum slab in this case, or the cap is $100 is the minimum, and the maximum is $25 multiplied by 100 is, that is 2,500. So this is important that we need to keep in mind for a non-resident corporation. Okay, what happens if you do not comply with mandatory internet filing? Because large corporations have to file their return through the internet. So this penalty is $1,000 for non-compliance. So if you have sent your return in hard form instead of resorting to, for example, internet filing, your return may be complete. You might have paid full tax. Still, CRA can impose a penalty of $1,000 for not complying with this mandatory requirement. Okay, now there could be another situation. What happens if you do not report income? Now, well, it all depends upon the size of the income. So the minimum threshold is $500. So if you did not report income and this income is at least $500 or a sum greater than $500, then CRA may impose penalty for this understatement of income on your corporation. Now, another possibility is false statements or omissions. So if you make a false statement deliberately in your T2 return, or there are certain omissions, negligent omissions, for example, the penalty is the greater of either $100 or 50% of the amount understated tax. So because of probably false statement or omission, you try to conceal part of the income, so they're going to impose penalty on you that may vary from 100% to 50% of the amount of understated tax. Now, since we have talked about penalties, so there may be a question that are there any taxpayer relief provisions available under the tax laws? Definitely, the answer is in the affirmative. The CRA's discretion to grant relief is limited to any period that ended within 10 calendar years before the year in which a request is made. So it means if a penalty is imposed upon your corporation, you believe probably it was not justified, you have the right to file an appeal before the CRA, but this appeal or request must be made within 10 calendar years when that penalty was imposed. So it means the limitation period in this case is 10 years. So after 10 years, all such cases will become time barred. I hope you enjoyed the contents of this video. For accounting, tax and business related matters advice, you can always email us at pascat2017@gmail.com, or you may call us at 289-952-3494, or else would you like to visit our website at www.pascat.com. Thank you for watching.